Okay.
Yeah. Do you, at the end of Daima, irrespective of, I guess it doesn't really matter whether it's actually part of the main timeline, including Super or not, uh, do you think they will continue this in either another series, so like Daima 2, which is uncommon for Dragon Ball to kind of do like
Yeah.
direct sequel series, or
Yeah.
do you think they'll do a movie like they did with GT?
I've had it said to me that Daima isn't like doing the craziest numbers, so I don't know that they'd be inspired to take it a step further after this. I'd be fine with it, but I guess I'm just saying that because I'd be fine with whatever Dragon Ball chooses to do. Like they could go back and do Goku in his actual like teenage years. I'm going to go watch that.
Yeah,
So
true. Yeah. Oh,
I'm
yeah,
so
yeah.
open
Well, I
minded.
guess
Anything is good for
seeing,
me.
seeing as you said, like, because I don't hear or know about its reputation at all. So, in terms of ratings and popularity and that, I'm completely dialed out. But I guess, do you think that they care about those metrics short term, or do you think they are more interested long term?
Oh, I like
Because I
that.
get the
That's a
sense
good question.
I get the sense that they're going for a new, or they're
Yes,
looking to add audience
that's
to
exactly
their
right.
franchise. I
Um,
don't think they're super jazzed on what people like you and I, for example, maybe think so much. Where like we've been around forever, we're going to keep watching it. We love everything about it. It's fine. Like if even if we don't like it, they're probably not super caring about that. I think they're looking to get kids on board, and I
yeah.
think irrespective of the ratings right now, I think they might turn around and do something in 10 years' time, maybe when the 6 and 7 year olds or even 8 and 9 year olds now are 16, 18, 19, 20, whatever they're at, and they're young adults. And it's like,
Yeah, I was
oh shit,
introduced
that
by
thing that I
Daima.
watched.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So I wonder, yeah,
I could see that. You asked if the money was worth like the cost of long term for them. I don't know that they would feel that way, but at the
I don't
same
think they
time,
care.
of course,
They
it'd
got
be
so
really
much money.
nice if they just, it's never enough. Greedy corporate world, man. This is what we live in, right? Capitalist,
Well, well,
capitalists,
the
all of us. But
yeah, it's
yeah, go
crazy,
ahead.
especially in today's day and age. Well, I guess the to kind of continue thinking about my question and answering it almost myself. But the one factor that is unknown is how or who's going to make the decisions now with
Yes.
no actual input possible from Akira Toriyama. Like
Yeah.
there is no way he can sign off on anything. There's no way he can even recommend anything.
This is like the
So I wonder
scariest
what
zone they could be in
it
narrative
is.
wise, because
Yeah,
like the only person I don't have issues with Toyotaro's writing, but at the same time, I didn't watch or I didn't read the manga like in full. I just know what happened. I don't have issues with it. I would say if there is anybody that was to be the protege, it would be him, and I'm okay with
yeah.
that for the foreseeable future. It does
Well, I
feel
guess I'm
like just
thinking.
being a blank slate is horrifying in reality. Like once this is over, like we have no real idea. You're right. So
Well, I
it's the
think from a
scariest
business
zone we've
perspective,
been in since
it's
Dragon
more
Ball
of a
came back.
mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like less of the narrative. Like honestly, the narrative thing is it's always a mystery to me in terms of like how it will go because I look maybe I'll get canned for this, but I don't think that Akira Toriyama's writing was perfect at all times, and that's okay. It doesn't
Yeah.
need to be. Not everyone's is, but he like he'll be hands off if he doesn't feel like it. He'll be hands on when he does, but I think he still kind of he never took his eye off the franchise when they were considering doing new things.
The one
So
time
now
he did, Evolution came out, bro. Like
Evolution,
that's
yeah,
it.
and he turned around and was like, "I'm not having this anymore. Let's
Yeah.
get back in the lab. Here's Dragon Ball Super, baby, or Battle of Gods at the very least."
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's that corporate decision making that the I guess the lack of permission needed now to move forward with the franchise is what I'm very curious to see. Like who's sitting in the office? Like who are the executives? Who are the ones that are going to go green light things from now on? And what are they going to green light? And how much are they going to green light? Like, is it
Yeah.
going to turn into Star Wars?
And
Like Star
exact,
Wars
that's
next
my
door?
bro. That's my fear.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
thinking. I'm
yeah,
like, what? Who even
yeah.
are you to like say like, yeah, I have the best intention at heart? Because like we live in a world, like bro, you know what they're doing it for, right? So it's not like they can't.
Oh yeah.
I don't know that that person cares about the story. I believe Toyotaro does. That's why I said my comment a moment ago. I
Oh,
don't know that
yeah.
whoever that company
He's not
delegated
corporate.
narrative, yeah, exactly, like whoever that delegated position is gonna be. I don't know if they care about
Director, so to speak.
bands or
Yeah.
if they care about the legacy and money. Like it's okay to want money, like it's okay, bro, but
Yeah.
if
Well,
it turns
the
into
franchise needs to
what
stay alive.
some other things have become, I'm gonna be really shy down because I don't really care for Star Wars. Like I guess
Well,
maybe it was just more because I was younger, but maybe it's more I hear Star Wars fans complain left and right and up and down about how much they do not like the series anymore, what it stands for, and everything it embodies anymore. So I would hate
well,
for
I think the
Dragon Ball to
problem.
be like that. We complain enough as is.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And I think that again, if we're going to go down the Star Wars rabbit hole a little bit, the problem is that it didn't know what it wanted to be, whereas kind of George Lucas was a singular dude. He was like, I know what it is, so I'm going to make it what it is. Even if, like, I mean, people didn't like the prequels, in the same way that people probably didn't like GT.
Yeah. Oh, that's
You know what I mean?
yeah. I was about to I'll hold that. Well, you go, and then I'm gonna hold that right there. Keep going.
Well, I mean to say like not everything's going to work, but the when you've got like a singular creative person, they have the map in their head. So they're pulling things out as they go, and they have people around them. But when a corporation, and that's why I asked the question before, whether you think that the long term gains of Daima is more important or less important than the short-term gains, because in the capitalist world that you're talking about, where Dragon Ball is a business more than it is entertainment, you would think that the short term is more important because that's where the office people get their coin.
Yeah.
They come in, they get their bonuses, and then they go, "What? Sweet, see you later," and then they leave a mess. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With
go ahead with what you were going to say.
your point about the prequels weren't received well for Star Wars, GT, I don't care. I like GT, but I know GT's
Equally,
had
yeah.
its like community. You're either real big on it, real poor on it.
Division.
So
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But more notably, I think with Daima and the idea of the long term, not the prequels, but well, the prequel. Yeah, the prequels. So episodes 1, 2, and 3, they used to be
Yeah.
received really, really poorly from what I was told. I didn't know this as a child because I'm one of the kids I'm
No,
about to
neither did
refer
I.
to.
We had no internet.
Yes. So I was told it was like the last couple years I found out it was received really poorly. Like Hayden Christensen was not liked at all by like diehard Star Wars fans. They just didn't like a lot of it. And growing up, he was Anakin for me. Like I was like, yo, this is my guy. Like I don't
Did you
I
watch the
can't
Clone
even
Wars?
imagine a world without Hayden being Anakin. One more time.
Did you watch the Clone Wars?
I guess I could say I watched half of it. Like I used to watch it
Watch it all.
consistently when I was younger. Yeah, that's on my bucket list
Do
for
yourself a
sure.
favor. Yeah.
Among all
Yeah.
else, it's on my
Sorry, go
bucket
on.
list.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just things like episodes 1, 2, and especially 3. I guess at the time it just wasn't received well, but now he gets all the flowers and he constantly talks about how I didn't get this love at all when I first had the movie come out, when I first had this role. Like this is crazy to look back and there are kids telling me like, what do you mean they don't like you? Like you're our icon. So I'm one of those said kids. I could see Daima being a situation where people are like, right now, like, we're lukewarm on Daima, right? Like, that's cool, whatever. But then people get older and they're like, what? Y'all didn't like Diamondback like 15, 20 years ago? Like that's the reason I like Vegeta, because he beat Tamagami 2 and I watched him do something technically they had,
Yeah. Yeah.
if this is the first time you're watching Dragon Ball and you're 4 years old, he did something you've never seen be done before in Super Saiyan 3. So like you've
He
seen,
grew his hair. Like, what the hell?
yeah, like you think he's cool, you think Shin is cool, you think Nahare
Even Glorio. Yeah.
yeah, like
Anyway.
you think Glorio is like a staple character in your head versus like a side accessory character. Things like that are very much possible for the outlook on Daima. So long term, I mean, it could be like, yeah, it's not making
Well,
crazy amounts of money now, but maybe the new wave of fans that come in could be like, yeah, this is technically, maybe it wasn't the first, but it was the second wave of Dragon Ball content I received, right? Like, it'd be really nice.
Well, I think the reason, and I'm glad you said all that, and I brought up Clone Wars just before that. It's all tied together now because you haven't watched all of Clone Wars and you weren't aware of the backlash of the prequels back in the day. One thing that probably should be understood by a lot of people who don't know is that the Clone Wars actually did a lot to repair people's perceptions of the prequels because it's set between 2 and 3. I think a big reason the prequels were so poorly received is that they were very, very political. Like their story, like the entire point of the prequels was like how the Emperor came to be.
Exactly.
But what you and knowing
but that's
now,
what I
going back and
loved
watching
about like it as a child. It made me think a little more than I was used to thinking at 4 and 5 years old, for sure.
Well, when you watch the Clone Wars, it shows you all those nuanced little plays.
Darth
Like
Maul
if
and all
politics,
that. Yeah.
well,
For sure.
it shows it's more than anything. It opened my eyes, and I didn't realize because I think episode 1 came out when I was like 8, so I was a little bit young to fully understand what politics was in general. But what the Clone Wars does really well is it shows the political like game that Palpatine was doing. Like it showed how he was playing both sides better than what the movies did. So now I go back and watch the movies, and I'm like, oh, I get all this, and it is all there in the movies, but without the Clone Wars, I don't think it's as clear. So I'm wondering if maybe like that's that long-term kind of storytelling that something like Dragon Ball could take a leaf out of the book of it being like, okay, Daima wasn't perfectly received, it wasn't widely like praised, but there's more to Daima than what maybe people understand, and we can maybe explain it better by doing a movie or a sequel or anything like that down the line, especially if it is more of like a legacy thing, like 10 years in the future. Because if anything, and to keep that Star Wars analogy, if anything's ruined not ruined, and I don't want to say, I like a lot of Star Wars that's come out since George Lucas sold it. I'll be honest. Andor is amazing. I love that show. But
I've heard it's received that, and
it's fantastic.
Another one I forgot. I'm not good with the current, like the modern Star Wars, but I know another show was received well too.
A lot of them are right. There's a few that aren't so good, but I don't think that's necessarily down to anything other than it wasn't my cup of tea. Not like, oh my god, Kathleen Kennedy or whatever the case may be. But I think one thing that Star Wars suffers from is it has an unintentional history of starving its fans. Like it did the first 3 movies, boom, 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 ended in what, like 83 or something, and then nothing for like 20 years.
Yeah, so that's the fans worst, had, like, bro. I hope Dragon Ball never does that again.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I'm the opposite. I kind of hope it does, because I think what that does is what it does is create hype. It keeps, you can keep the conversation going. Like Star Wars fans have never been silent, Dragon Ball fans have never been silent, but when you flood the airwaves with endless content, what you typically wind up with is watered down content, because you've got so many different people working on so many different things. What you've probably done is got the team that you should have working on a singular project all separately working on different projects, and you don't have the right minds. You've got too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak. Yeah. So I hope that they don't flood the airways with Dragon Ball content, especially now that Akira Toriyama isn't here to say stop. You know what I mean? If he was that way inclined, I don't know if he was or not, but you know, if they go, all right, Daima's done, guess what? There's a new series coming in 6 months' time, and it's like the sequel to Super. And if they just keep flooding us, I think that's when people start to not pay attention as much. And again, Star Wars is a great example where I'm not, like, there's a new show called Skeleton Crew. I'm not rushing to see it because I just finished watching another Star Wars show. It's kind of like, nah, I could wait a little bit to see the next thing, and I don't have to rush out and see it. So having something at all times is not necessarily the best thing for a franchise, I don't think.
I hear you. Shoot, I guess I'll say this and then we'll wrap up. I understand where you're coming from. I definitely would. Last thing I want is second to last thing I want is watered down Dragon Ball. The very last thing is no Dragon Ball, because for me, like, what is essentially a decade of non-meaningful Dragon Ball, or I guess no Dragon Ball at all, was really like, it's kind of crazy to think, like you said, Dragon Ball fans aren't quiet. It's kind of crazy to think I love Dragon Ball as much as I do, and I'm like, relative to my age, I'm not really used to having, like, now I am with Super, but I'm not really used to having flowing Dragon Ball content, and I always wanted that during that time where there just wasn't much. I think it'd be really scary to, like, I'm cool. So I think the difference between Dragon Ball and Star Wars, and like you're saying, it's a concern they'll do it, is Dragon Ball doesn't really overlap itself much. So like Heroes was coming out, but no one, like, everyone understands what Heroes is. But in terms of
Heroes is
the
Heroes,
Goku, the main Goku storyline, Daima isn't like overlapping with the Beast Gohan section of the community. Like, it's not overlapping with the Tournament of Power, which wasn't overlapping with whatever else you go. Like, you get what I'm saying with modern era is, I hope that they keep doing it like that, because I feel like they have given us time in between. Like, the wait for Daima was real. Like, we were like, all right, are we getting another movie, or are we getting a Super?
In like
Super
9 years,
2? Yeah. So we were like, are we getting, the manga chapters animated? Are we gonna get another movie focusing on Goku and Vegeta? Like, what are we going to do? And then we found out we were getting Daima. Then we found out more on Daima, and then it came out, and that was really good for, like you're saying, continuing conversation. But if we were to have like 3 and 4 years of nothing, the thing about short, like this, I wouldn't even call it a hiatus, but just time in between each project is, that it's on the way. Like, I know for a fact once Daima is over, they're gonna start emphasizing whatever the next movie is, quote unquote movie series. They're gonna start moving towards that. So I'm comfortable with waiting. When you have no idea, when 3 or 4 years pass, you're like, are we just done for a while? Like, where are we gonna pick back up? Like, we don't know what they're gonna do, and I think that's the scariest state I would ever want for Dragon Ball. I would hate that for Dragon Ball. I'd be really upset.
Well, I'll ask this question knowing that, prefacing by saying that we don't know how many episodes in total Daima has yet. We're talking just at the end of episode 13. How long do you think it's taken them to work on Daima? Because I'm assuming it's finished.
I have no, I believe it's finished. I have no idea, bro. I can't say I do that.
I criticized 12 for being probably the bottom or the lowest point that the bar has been, and it's still quite a high bar. It's quite a high bar regardless. But 13, I'll be honest, like, right at the start of the episode, I was like, it's going down this episode, man. They're stepping up the animation game again. Like, they had that real heavy.
It kind of sucks to know that they wasted budget on this episode when we could have just had a better Vegeta versus Tembagami animation. That kind of sucks. I'm not gonna lie.
I was like, I'm waiting for something big to happen because they're stepping up their game here. But I'm wondering, like you say, 3 or 4 years. I feel like it might take roughly that long from the, at least the point where pre-production starts, where they get a crew and they're like, we need to make a new show. Just that statement itself, between that and when it's out or finished, I think that's probably 3 to 4 years these days.
Yeah, I hear you. I have no idea. I don't handle that type of stuff. I don't even want to begin to guess, because I can only imagine how hard they work. Like, I always hear about how production studios get overworked in short periods of time. So it wouldn't even be like how long did it take them. It would be like more like how many hours did they have to work for the project. That would put it in better perspective. So I have no idea, but this was a good episode for nothing we had going on. This was a great episode. No. So for everyone,
leaving a little bit of a downer. The only thing I'd say in terms of like a hiatus or a gap between is, in the same way that it would have been fair. I mean, we didn't expect Akira Toriyama to pass as soon as he did, but in the same way that if he was still alive, I'd start to get concerned about his age. I'm starting to get a little bit concerned about the age of some of the voice actors and how that may affect production moving forward. Like, if the voice actress of Goku passes, like, what do you do?
Nozawa, I would be heartbroken. I mean, even Bulma's voice actress, like, she passed at the end of Super. Respectfully, like, are we gonna say? Be for real. Like, Dragon Ball fans, we would be upset, but no one being clear of emotion would be like, no. Like, like, they're not gonna say no. We love her, we honor
They're not going to
you.
retire Goku.
You changed a lot of their like a lot of the community's lives, like, for sure. But no one clear headed would be like, no, we just gotta stop here. Like that would be, I'd call you dumb. I'm not gonna front.
Yeah,
But
it's the Goku show, and if anything proves that, it's Daima. You know what I mean? Like we did get Dragon Ball Super Superhero, which was nothing to do with Goku. But if you were to, if a fan was to sit down and go, well, no, I just don't want to see Goku again. Even if Sean Schemmel passed, just to be on the dub side, you'd be like, what? But what's Dragon Ball without Goku?
yeah,
And I know kind of what's Goku without the voice actors, but I don't mean to be harsh, but the show must go on.
yeah, it's
I don't
something
know.
like that
I
for
mean,
sure.
the voice actor for Frieza I know passed probably about a year ago now, and you can go on without Frieza. I just don't see you
I
going
mean,
on without
even then,
Goku.
it's still like a thing where like it's super important to make sure you have clarity on what you're gonna do next. Like I don't want them to just choose
Yes,
like I ain't not gonna lie. If they hate the next voice, they're going to hate it for a little bit. But if they hate the next voice in the long term, that'd be a real downer, and it'd affect the series as a whole.
has
I guess I don't have
we're
any
getting a
more
bit off
thoughts
topic,
on it though. Yeah,
but
I'm kind of what happened.
has has Japanese cast had any major changes to major characters
Bulma's voice
in the way
actress
that
passed at the end of Super, towards the end of Super, like the last 3 or 4 episodes.
so Bulma in
Or maybe it's a
Superhero or
little later than
Broly.
that, or a little earlier than
So
that. I'm sorry.
so in Superhero and Dragon Ball Super Broly, the actress who voiced Bulma was different.
I believe so, but I can't remember. Like I'm
Okay.
not good with non-English dub voices. Like
No,
I'm
neither am
reading
I.
more versus listening, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's kind of actually you've just basically prefaced what I was about to say. Is like I don't know the reputation of voices, especially in the Japanese, because they. I mean, this is going to sound pretty poor, but they're background noise to me, so they all sound somewhat
Yeah, that's
similar to a
more
degree.
or
Like
less where I'm at.
some
Like
are
I like
deeper,
Gamma
some are not.
2's
But
English voice. I adore his English voice. I don't know, but and Dispo and Topo's voice is cool. I have no idea. I couldn't remember what they sound like when I was originally watching Super.
well, the only thing we have to go off, and this is in the dub side of things, not the Japanese voice actors, is the kid Goku slash Gohan voice. That was recast like 10 years ago to a
Yeah,
different person, and I know that a lot of people, myself
Stephanie
included,
Young, I believe, is the
much.
original
Yeah,
voice.
but yeah, I think there was something a bit off about the second one, at least to me personally. So I'm interested to see whether that's a concern for any, whether that's what do you call that, like a precedent for people to be concerned over
Stephanie
recasting or
Nadoni.
anything
I'm
like that.
sorry, but yeah, keep going.
Yeah. Okay. No, I just that's the only thing like that's what was running in my head where like there was a major character because that's Kid Goku in Dragon Ball. So if they want to have
Yeah,
Dragon Ball remade, that's the kind of voice that you're talking about.
because she's
Super
doing the
Sentai
English
Gohan, for
dub
example.
on Daima. She's doing Kid Goku's
I'm
English voice.
I heard, and I'm so happy about that. And
Yeah,
that's kind of what I mean. Like the second actress, it is another woman. I can't remember, but not my thing. I know that was mostly in games.
yeah, I get what you. I don't
Um,
disagree at all. I mean, like I get it, but I don't disagree.
mm. Anyway,
All
we
right.
digress.
Yeah,
Went well off topic. Just had a good old yarn, but yeah, we might leave it at that.
yeah, we'll call it. But
Let us know
appreciate
what
you
you reckon
guys.
about voice actors and everything below. If we got any facts wrong, please correct us. We don't
Yeah.
claim to be experts. We have what we know in our heads, and most of that is corrupt anyway.
Of what he said. All right. So we'll call it there. We appreciate you guys' time. Y'all already know what it is, man. Like, subscribe. We appreciate you guys so much. Comment your thoughts as he's saying. It is the 8-star Further Beyond podcast, man. It is the King Hitman and Mr. Greg Daw. And we are off this.